What made you want to become a doctor?
We do not have to live that way. We were not born with a medication deficiency. We were not. And once I realized that meat, I got my shirt on, that meat heals and carbs can harm, I felt my best. So I try to lean into this carnivore pretty heavily. And I have never felt better. Mental clarity, energy, am celebrating and giving people the tools to heal. So it's a completely different paradigm. Most doctors are not aware even of how to deprescribe. I can't imagine not being a doctor now. And it doesn't matter if that person's 18 or 90. I recently released a video about Mr. Oatman, who will be, he's 90. He was 90 the month of this recording, and yet he went from an A1C of 9 to 4.6 in 4 months. But he had the story. The story is, I am afraid, doctor, because my siblings, my mom and an uncle all died. They all succumbed to diabetes. I had lost hope. They're not going to do what you say. I just didn't know that I was telling them the wrong information. I was worried about compliance, adherence to their medicine. The reality was I needed.
The following is one part of a series of videos with the wonderful Dr. Tony Hampton. If you'd like to watch the other episodes, please check the playlist in the description and be sure to follow Dr. Tony Hampton on YouTube. Hello and welcome. Carrie here from Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet. And today I'm thankful, grateful, blessed, honored to have Dr. Tony Hampton back on the channel. Welcome, Dr. Hampton. How are you doing?
Thank you, Carrie. I'm always happy to be here, my friend. The work never ends, and I will do this every day, all day, if necessary, to help heal humanity. I think we all have that obligation. So thanks for the opportunity, my friend. Let's have a nice conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so thankful for you in particular, just because I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you practice what you preach. You're seeing tons of patients, you're getting people off their medication. And I guess just more personally, you were the first doctor, the first expert that we filmed for our documentary. And frankly, honestly, candidly, I'm like, we didn't know what we were getting into at that point, but you really solidified for us how important this is. The words you spoke on camera, I can't wait to share with the world, because it's really powerful stuff. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. So I really appreciate you. I wanted to jump in a little bit and talk about Dr. Hampton. What made you want to become a doctor?
Yeah, it was actually me trying to decide what's the best way to move forward when I was a young, kid in high school. And I went to a school that was in architectural fields and things like that. So I thought I was going to be an architect. But I noticed that as I sat with that drafting board, that it really wasn't allowing me to be my total me. I'm not able to interact with people. I'm interacting with this drafting board. So I knew that that was an issue. So I think having had the experience as a kid of, you know, cutting my hand and recognizing how easy it was for the doctors to heal that cut without pain using medicine, of course, it really kind of intrigued me. So I think that that's what kind of led to me wanting to do the same for other people. So I knew that being a healer made sense. It also allowed me to maximize my ability to connect with people, interact with people. So at a very young age, I realized that was for me. And what's cool is that that's exactly what I'm doing now. I literally wake up every day, go to work, and I'm healing people. So it's really a gift, and I never take it for granted. In the tough neighborhood I grew up in, many of the young men in particular never really even got to adulthood. It was a tough neighborhood. So I'm just really grateful that I have that privilege to still be here, but more importantly, to really heal people. So it's really a gift. And not until I learned about nutrition did I really figure out how to really heal people. So I'm grateful for that as well.
Could you share with us just briefly a little bit your sort of carnivore story? What led you to this?
Absolutely. It was initially me trying to help my wife with her diabetes. She has type 1 diabetes, so she has to take insulin, but we really had to figure out how to do a better job. So it's really rooted in that. And then as I tried to help her, and we shifted more from a plant-based diet to a animal-based diet, going low carb, because we recognized that the plants still raised her blood sugar, even if we tried to do it perfectly. So, but during that journey, I also noticed improvements in myself. I was taking probiotics that would help me with my irritable bowel. And as we went to low carb, I noticed that my symptoms started to lessen. So, what happened was I started identifying plants that did not agree with me, like Brussels sprouts and others. And so I just started eliminating. And what happened was we ended up, me personally anyway, ended up keto. So I got the carbs less and less because I kept eliminating plants. And ultimately, it was others in the low carb and carnivore community that kind of inspired me. And when I saw my colleagues leaning in that direction, whether it's Dr. Ovadia, Dr. Kimberry, et cetera, I said, you know what? Maybe I should try this. So once I tried that for the very first time, instead of trying to figure out what plant bothered me and avoid it, I just went with the animal-based diet, and once I realized that meat, I got my shirt on, that meat heals and carbs can harm, I felt my best. So once I got there, it didn't make logical sense once I was convinced it wasn't harmful to go ahead and just lean into that. So that's where I've been. And I may have moments of indulgence periodically, but whenever I do, there's this risk that my symptoms will come back. So I try to lean into this carnivore pretty heavily, and I have never felt better. Mental clarity, energy, but most importantly, I don't have to think about my stomach, and nobody should live that way. You should never have to like literally wake up and go somewhere and have to figure out where the bathroom is. I mean, who wants to live that way? Now it's like I have energy to do the other things I need to do in life, like hang out with you and then hang out with my wife later. That's what life should be like. And I can't model health if I'm not a healthy guy. So when people see me as a 56-year-old, I'll be 57 this year, I want them to have an opportunity to say, man, if this guy can do it, then I can do it. So I think it's important that the messengers model exactly what they want their audience to achieve.
Ah, I love that. I That's not being judgmental, but I just remember back when I was getting advice from doctors and they weren't practicing what they're preaching like you. I wasn't looking at them being like, I want to be like that guy. Like, what's he doing kind of thing. I'm like, this guy's giving me advice, but he's not taking it himself. It's harder to listen to, I guess. But what how did this sort of epiphany, like this kind of was a big change for you in your life going carnivore? How did it change what you're doing professionally?
What it did is, first of all, in clinic, because of YouTube, I have a lot of carnivore patients now, so they'll find me. Maybe you'll mention that I'm in Chicago. Maybe Dr. Barry will mention it, and so I have a lot of patients now who have a place of safety, a place to kind of a community where they can hang out with a doctor who understands that. So what it did for my practice is rather, low carb, keto, or carnivore, but mainly as close to carnivore as possible. The practice has shifted to a practice where my patients not only heal, but they kind of expect to heal. My only job is to give them the most basic information that they need to be as animal based as possible, and then coach them along and support them, and then give them grace when they struggle. So it's very difficult in the world that we live in to exist in a low carb, keto, or carnivore environment and not get pushback, but more importantly, not be tempted. So we talk about very practical things in that clinic. You know, don't drive by that old restaurant that you once went to that was not serving you. Just take a different route. Make sure that you tell your family that this is what you're trying to achieve, which is to be there longer for them. And would they walk with you? Would they do you the favor of not having the wrong things on the counter instead of having the right things on the counter? And so I think it's really about partnership and then helping them understand how to exist. So my practice has been filled with like testimonials where people come in, and if I don't mention their weight or their lowered A1C, I just had this previous Friday, and a young man came in and his A1C went from like 10 to 6 in like 4 months. Um, if I don't mention that and celebrate that, they have a fit. So for me, I am celebrating and giving people the tools to heal. So it's a completely different paradigm. Most doctors are not aware even of how to deprescribe. I literally have to be very conscious to deprescribe so that their blood pressure medicines won't lead them to low blood pressure, that their blood, sugar medicines won't lead to hypoglycemia in their ER. That's a completely different paradigm. My colleagues, on the other hand, are trying to maximize the dose. We're trained to maximize the dose until symptoms, and then you slow down. But in some cases, we'll tell them to keep taking the medicines even when they are being maximized. If the statins causing muscle aches, just tolerate it because the benefits outweigh the risk. Why would you tell somebody to take something that's causing muscle aches and they're taking, CoQ10, it's not working, and you're going to tell them to continue taking that medicine because we've been brainwashed to think that the medicines are the only solution. So I'm so happy that we have an alternative and patients are desperate, and we need health systems like where I work, Advocate Health, to have clinicians who walk with people with lifestyle changes as opposed to managing their disease with medicines. That is not the way to live. And I'm sure all of us who have taken medicines can give a list of side effects that made us feel horrible. We do not have to live that way. We were not born with a medication deficiency. We were not.
I love that. It's so interesting the word you used, deprescribed medication. I haven't heard that word too much, but I was recently very fortunate to also interview Dr. Baker, and he used that same word.
Yes.
And it's like all these good doctors we've been interviewing for our documentary have been using words like that. And I love that. I think that's amazing. Um, I was on so much medication for so long, and it not only did it not like fix the issue, I think it perpetuated other issues, kind of like you said, side effects. Antidepressant medication, I started putting on more weight. Started putting on more weight,
That's right.
snowballed, weakened the immune system, and things like that. So I've been in a really weird fortunate position. I'm just an individual. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor, barely graduated high school. Been sharing my story, as you know, on YouTube. And from time to time, I'll get people that'll say, Carrie, I saw your 30-day video and it changed my life. I'm like no longer depressed anymore. It's the most incredible, humbling feeling in the world. It's like it's why I'm here right now. It's like why I'm doing this documentary. People finding a second chance at life. What's that like for you now that you've changed and you're focusing on nutrition and you're seeing patients that are actually coming to you because they're like, "Help me.
Right.
I have something wrong with me." What's it like for you when someone's like, "Dr. Hampton, you put me on a path to healing or you gave me a second chance at life?"
Quick interruption. Did you know we have an incredible membership site for you called healinghumanity.life? We have a special offer going on right now. Learn more at the link in the description. We have courses, we have expert Q&As with the good doctors. We even have a Healing Humanity Heroes Zoom call once a week, highlighting real heroes that will inspire you on a path to healing. The community is wonderful. We're going to be implementing a buddy system so you can be held accountable, recipes, all sorts of great stuff to help you on a path to healing. Learn more at the link in the description below.
Yeah, it's the best feeling ever. Again, it changes um how you approach your day-to-day life. I do want to say this first. Um the so-called non-experts, right? Are really experts because you have lived experiences. And lived experiences can be more convincing. Storytelling can be more convincing. Speaking the language of the person you're trying to help heal can be more convincing. Building trust and community can be more convincing. Demystifying the complicated science that some of us doctors share with people, sometimes inappropriately, can be very reassuring. And really more than anything, you inspire people to action, right? So when they saw you doing your thing, going from a homesteader to a carnivore guy, right? Doing a little bit of both now. That is really what it's all about. So for me as a doctor, I'm doing a version of that, and I may have the credibility of a MD and all these other titles I have, but my job is to realize that me being an expert on which medicine you need or which diagnosis you have is less important than just being a friend who's able to walk with you. So I think for me, I had to learn, and I try to teach my colleagues because I'm a leader in my health system, is that you'll get more return on investment if you build rapport, are empathetic, explain things in easily digestible ways, and recognize that it's as valuable to do those things than it is to get the diagnosis. In fact, there will be people who will give you a pass, even if you don't get the diagnosis right, because they love and respect and trust you. So why not? Because doctors worry about, malpractice and things like that. Well, you're going to have a lawsuit if people don't trust you, if people don't feel like you have their best interests in mind. So it's just allowing me to walk into the clinic every day and to know that I'm going to hear a story of healing. And it doesn't matter if that person's 18 or 90. I mean, I recently released a video about Dr. Oatman or Mr. Oatman, who will be, he's 90. He was 90 the month of this recording, and yet he went from an A1C of 9 to 4.6 in 4 months. But he had the story. The story is, I am afraid, doctor, because my siblings, my mom, and maybe an uncle all died. They all succumbed to diabetes. And when they come to you vulnerable, and they're just looking for hope. They're tired of doctors throwing more pills at them. And all we're trying to do is to break that trend, to change the paradigm to where we give them the steps necessary to get to the root cause of why they got sick in the first place. Who knew it was simply putting the bagel to the side or the cornbread? Who knew it was the rice, the pasta, and potatoes? It wasn't a deficiency of the Trulicity he was on or the glipizide he was on. He takes none of those medicines and had been on them for a while. So that's the message. And that's the hope I have restored to my practice. And I never thought a 90-year-old would be able to turn their lives around. I had lost hope. They're not going to do what you say. I just didn't know that I was telling them the wrong information. I was worried about compliance, adherence to their medicine. The reality was I needed to help them understand how to change how they eat. So it's been like it warms your heart, and when you wake up every day, you're happy to go to work. I can't imagine not being a doctor now because I enjoy what I do. I don't have burnout anymore because I enjoy what I do. So and the funny thing is I'm probably busier than I've ever been because I'm doing this crazy stuff.
Right?
But yet I feel better than I've ever felt. And I feel like I'm aging in reverse, and I'm doing the same for my patients. So it's been amazing, my friend.
I love it. I love the story of Mr. Oatman you had on your YouTube channel. Everyone watching this, I highly encourage you, go subscribe to Dr. Tony Hampton at Dr. Tony Hampton. I'll have a link in the description. If nothing else, go watch the Mr. Oatman video because that put a big smile on my face. I thought the same thing. Like at 90, who's going to change their? I feel like me at 90, I'm like, no, nothing. I'm not changing my ways at 90. And here he has. It's proof that it's never too late. It's never too late. If you enjoyed today's video, you're going to really enjoy the other videos I did with Dr. Tony Hampton. Link in the description below, and there's a playlist on the screen so you can watch the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Please share this video, leave a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.